Right, so I happened to come up with a brilliant idea that could actually, in fact, contribute to the new Labour movement, thus actually, in fact, giving Labour biblical power and authority over all dark rulers and dark forces of our society today, once made within God's image, that is. And this idea, like I said, could potentially make the world a brighter and more healthier place for all of humanity's existence and their well-being. This idea being that if Keir Starmer was to continue pushing forward as our current Labour leader, as you will, and if he was to reinstate Jeremy Corbyn as Vice Prime Minister, thus actually in fact resulting to more power when opposing all corruption within the House of Commons, and if the new Labour movement were to then give a chance to Elon Musk and I, mostly Elon Musk and his brains even, we could actually in fact become brains of the new Labour movement. So let's say, I don't know, some, if not a large portion of the Labour bench even are burnt out due to doing the will of God, as you will. It's now left under the brains of Elon Musk and I. And if any knowledge, wisdom and logic happen to be bouncing even from brain to brain, we can then enforce whatever knowledge, wisdom and logic that we happen to share between one another, only to then pass it down to the new Labour movement, which, might I add, could potentially fix any loopholes within the tax avoidance system, the tax system on a whole, as well as any loopholes preventing any future corrupted MPs or politicians from entering the House of Commons to continue their shenanigans within their tyrant ways. Again, it was only an idea. The Labour movement don't have to take my word for it, because at the end of the day, they have free will just like myself and everybody else, right? They can only reflect on what I've shared here. But I believe wholeheartedly there would be enough opposition against all corruption within the House of Commons, like I said, if Keir Starmer was to reinstate Jeremy Corbyn as Vice Prime Minister of the new Labour movement, and they were to then both give Elon Musk and I the role as brains operative on behalf of the Labour movement, the new Labour movement, there would be enough power there, like I said, to restore balance. Thus actually in fact result into the patriarchy being put back within the system where it rightfully belongs, saving all souls of both man and women from being oppressive and hateful towards one another. And there you have it, folks. It's easier said than done. Now I can actually understand as to why some, if not most, of the political figures, we have at the minute, get frustrated easily, due to the peer pressure, the hate, the persecution. We're not even within the House of Commons, but yet we get it however many folds over, because like I said, we are exposing the cult and the corruption within the system. Therefore we get it the most, because we are essentially number one on Satan's hit list, and he's desperate to essentially, like I said, kill every single one of God's creation, God's chosen, as well as God's elect, when it comes down to saving his poxy, pathetic little cult that only guarantees humanity a moment's worth of happiness, peace, gratitude, patience, what else? Grace, salvation, mercy, wrath, if and whenever it's merited, and all of these other things. So there you have it. That was the idea, and now I'm going to leave this idea within the hands of our new Labour movement. And the reason why I say on to Keir Starmer to reinstate Jeremy Corbyn as Vice Prime Minister of the Labour movement, or better yet, second Prime Minister of the Labour movement, where both of you work hand in hand and alongside one another. Even. Is due to the fact that, well, think about it. What are the initials of Jeremy Corbyn? JC, yeah? Now, go back to biblical manuscript days and 2,000 plus years ago. Who are those initials also of? Jesus Christ. Now, I'm not saying Jeremy Corbyn is actually, in fact, Jesus Christ himself, although what I am saying is that he is genuinely, in fact, one of God's chosen, one of God's elect. And like I said, the only way Labour are going to be able to fix the damage that, the current system has actually, in fact, caused due to corruptible politicians, I believe wholeheartedly that working alongside one another is vital, and it's the only way. Like I said, there's going to be enough opposition to not only fix the loopholes within our tax system in order to prevent tax avoidances within, big companies, as you will. Therefore, even the big companies are actually paying their fair share. But it also prevents, like I said, any future corrupted politician, or MP for that matter, from getting within the House of Commons. Because now there's a new law as part of God's will that does not only a background check on those currently putting themselves forward, to be a part of the Patriarchy, for that matter, or better yet, our system on a whole. But it's also doing background checks on psychological well-being, as well as well-being in here. And it could also, like I said, see potential, let's say, in some people that could well essentially be spiritually broken to some extent. But rather than cast them aside because they do have, like I said, a high level of intellect, as you will, or they have an IQ, a high IQ, they are granted the relevant treatment in order to heal in here and in here through like-minded individuals that happen to know the Bible manuscript, witnessed and approved by the Holy Spirit. And there you have it, folks.